Welcome to the Songwriter Connection podcast. Our show originates in Nashville, Tennessee, Music City, USA. We connect you to the songwriters and the stories behind your favorite songs. Join us as we take a look at the craft of songwriting through the eyes of the songwriter. Now, here's your host, Dave Linehan.
Hi, I'm Dave, and thanks for joining us on the Songwriter Connection podcast. As you know, being in Nashville, there are a lot of songwriters, you can probably imagine. And we're going to make another connection with one a little bit later on here today. The stories that these great songwriters in Nashville can tell, they're just amazing. And I want to share them with you on this show, introduce you to a new one each week and make that connection, as we say. This is season 1, episode 15. And if you haven't had a chance to listen to the previous 14, I hope you'd check them out and spread them around a little bit for us. We would certainly appreciate that. And again, I've got to thank hit writer Win Varble for spending time with us on last week's show. Man, he's an amazing guy. If you missed that one, please go back and check it out. He's written some big, big songs. It's an honor to have him here. Well, before I introduce you to this guest this week, I want to tell you about a podcast that I discovered just in this past week. We're taping this show in April 20th, and we just I like to work ahead, but I want to tell you about this show that I happened to come across. It's called America's Next Pop Icon. And you might be thinking, well, Dave, that's got nothing to do about songwriting. Well, yeah, it does. I mean, to be a pop icon, you better have good songs, right? And this is a really slick show. Very well produced by Andrew Van Slee. It takes place in Las Vegas. It's well produced. It's a video podcast. And it's the kind of show that I really, in the future, aspire this show to become like. I really do. Once we can get monetization and some sponsors, I'm hoping we can take this out into the venues of Nashville and really get out into the community like Andrew does on his show. And if you're an aspiring performer and you like to sing, this is your show. And let me tell you why. They start each show with a little music news, an artist interview, and then they give you singing tips. Like the show I watched this past week was phenomenal. They had a vocal coach come in, and she gave you tips and exercises to help make your voice better. And dang, I can use that. And then the other really cool thing about this show is people can call into this show because they do it live and actually sing on the show. And they choose a person to advance into the next round. So someone is going to get a chance to appear on the final show and become America's next pop icon. So if that interests you, please check it out. It's really a fun show. America's Next Pop Icon. And we thank them for being friends of our podcast, the Nashville Connection, that's the radio show, the Songwriter Connection podcast. Sorry about that. Today, we're going to make a connection with a gentleman who lives here in Nashville, Tennessee, came here from Maryland, and he writes songs in all genres. We're talking rock, pop, folk, country, blues. And let me tell you something. A lot of people think, Nashville's got to be country music, right? It's not always the case. All music. I mean, this is a music town, not just a country town. But anyway, Scott writes solo. He writes with a lot of other artists and songwriters in town here. I have been very fortunate to write a few songs with him, and I can tell you he's a genius. Our guest is Scott Barrier. Scott, thanks for being on the show. Good to have you here, man.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Dave. Thank you so much for inviting me. This is awesome.
Appreciate it, man. I look forward to picking your brain a little bit. I'm going to start back a year or so ago, back before COVID, with a party that the GSC, and I want to tell you a little bit about this, folks. It's the Global Songwriter Connection, and it's run by Cherie Spoltor here in Nashville. And she is a wonderful person. You just got to love her. She is just so enthusiastic, and she helps a lot of songwriters in this town. And I also have to apologize to you, Cherie. I didn't steal your name. I know you're Global Songwriter Connection. We share the same last name. This is Songwriter Connection. But I swear to you, man, as we talked about many times on this show, our name came out of a TV show we did back in the early 2000s in Cincinnati called Nashville Songwriter Connection. So anyway, Cherie, appreciate you being a friend. But anyway, she has this big party twice a year in the spring and in around Christmas time, and it's a mixer, and all the songwriters in town attend this thing. It's really an incredible event, isn't it, Scott?
Yeah, it seems like all of them show up.
Yeah.
Even though it's hard to believe that in just the Nashville, Davidson County area, there are approximately 65,000 singer-songwriters, musicians, and the like.
Wow.
doing everything as you said, Dave.
Do you mean I can do like 65,000 songs or shows on this podcast?
You could be never ending.
We're in business for a while, I think.
And given that's in and out, people come in and out through a given year. So I don't know who did the statistics, but that's somebody figured that out. That all the transients, some come for the weekend, some stay for a week or a month or whatever. So, but what is really awesome is Cherie used to be with NSAI, which is the international.
We've talked about them on this show. Nashville Songwriters International. Yeah, great place.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then when she had left there, she started Global Songwriters, very small. Mm-hmm. And another songwriter told me about it, and I showed up, and there might have been 20 people.
Mm-hmm. Really?
At the mixer. And I met her and a few other people. And I was, like I said, I think I mentioned, I did not mention, I was with NSAI still at the time. Mm-hmm. And when I met Cherie and I saw what she was doing in her model, I really enjoyed that. I really thought that would be effective for where I was as a writer, because I'd been writing for a little while, but I wasn't trying to be a commercial writer yet. I was still kind of dabbling. And NSAI kind of got me in that mindset, and she helped me set a plan when I met with her, and she got me rolling. So I'm very grateful for that.
Great.
But what's really been awesome, and I've been happy to see, is that she has built that.
She has.
From 20 people showing up at a mixer to 600 approximately people packed in a room, and that is major publishers, some label people, managers. So it's not just the songwriters that show. This is the industry that shows up. That's how important her mixtures have become, and how great of an opportunity to network with people at all levels. And so they're just rubbing elbows.
Yeah.
There's a guy who wrote, whatever, some huge #1 song. And then there's some new folks trying to meet somebody, and they want to learn, like I did when I joined NSAI, how to be a commercial writer, how to network, how publishing works, all these things that are music industry oriented.
And she also hosts these pitch to publisher events where you can play them your song, and sometimes they'll take them and set up a meeting with you. So it's really great, the things she does. Now the reason I mentioned was I think that was where I first met you, and you got a big award at one of those shows. So you're an award-winning songwriter.
Yeah, what's interesting about it is it's a community essentially a community ambassador award, because there are different people that have different ways that they do things, and so I just love to help people get connection. There you go, Global Songwriters Connection.
That connection.
I love to match talent together and see where we can go with it. And I love helping people, and I love to see their careers grow as well as mine. And so they give out an award for that. And it's the Lorna Flowers Community Ambassador Award.
She was an amazing person.
She was amazing.
Yeah, and we lost her a few years back. And it's just great that they call it. They named that award after her. So anyway, go ahead.
That's correct. And she was always supportive and super positive, and always trying to help people. She created, writers' nights to help people, and just connected people. She didn't ask for anything. She just quietly went about it and helped people's careers. And so, unbeknownst to me, I guess I was doing a similar thing. I was just doing what I do. I love to help people be supportive, network, all that. And that's what brought me to being nominated anonymously from industry people and other songwriters within Global Songwriters Connection for me to be the guy a few years ago. And I was very honored, very humbled, and was totally shocked. Because when they put the nominations out, I'm like, I'm voting for that person. I was voting for all these people, and that I thought they deserve it so much. Yeah. And so I was just like, what? All embarrassed. And
you see what a guy this is. He's such a humble and great guy. That's great. Congratulations. And that's so you, man, from what I know of you. And Lorna, I have to tell a quick story about her. When I was coming in to write, I was living in Cincinnati, and we used to come in a lot to write. And when you do that, you got to try to play out as much as you can. And Lorna was running an open mic at the Listening Room back when it was up at Cummings Station. And and I remember signing up to play, and I am known for my terrible handwriting.
I must be brothers from a different mother then. I should have been a doctor, but I chose songwriting.
She couldn't read what I said. She thought I'd written down. I wish I could remember. Dove or something, Stave or something like that. And she keeps calling my name and I'm not coming and I don't know why. So from that day forward, she called me by that name and I always loved her. Yeah. I'll think of what it was she used to call me. Well, it was a few years ago. But anyway, let's talk a bit about you and your writing. And what I love is you could fit into just about any style. You're just about writing these songs. And recently you got together with, and I saw this Meg Williams, who is a great blues artist here in town. I saw her at Donaldson Pub just a couple of weeks back, and she absolutely blew me away. Great voice. But a great guitar player. So you've written with her and my friend Kiran Gupta, who plays in her band. So tell us about this song we're going to play.
Yeah, this song is a song she brought to me, and not to get into personal things, but there may have been a former relationship she wanted to write about. And Meg and I had already been writing the past couple of years, and I was very fortunate to have a song on her last project. That was recorded in Muscle Shoals at Fame Studios, which was one of my bucket lists, by the way. I wanted a song recorded at Fame Studio in Muscle Shoals down in Florence, Alabama, and she made that come true for me twice. Oh, my God.
If that ever happens again, will you take me with you? I'll carry your guitars, whatever you need. I love Muscle Shoals. She told
me afterwards, but I was like, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I didn't have to be there. I'm so glad that it was just done. And so we got that was from her last album. And we also ended up with Kieran writing a Christmas song that her label at the time loved, so they released that as a single. Wow. And so I'm very fortunate to have this great history with Meg. We're good friends, and we I'm very thankful that she thinks I'm good enough to write blues with her.
Well, let's play it. It's called Done Getting Over You, right? Yeah?
Done Getting Over You.
Done Getting Over You, written by Scott Barrier, our guest of the Songwriter Connection podcast.
Try so hard to forget you, even harder to forgive you. All this pain that you're putting me through, and when it comes down to it, I should be getting over you. Try so hard just to let it go, 'cause you know, baby, that's not the way I used to roll. It would have been easy just to let it ride. You'd be right out of my mind. There'd be no tossing and turning at night.
Are you kidding me? It's got that Muscle Shoals sound to it too, isn't it? My goodness, I love it. That's Meg Williams, who did the song written by Scott Barrier, our guest today, and co-written with her. And
yeah, just the two of us on that one.
Okay, just the two.
What I find crazy about that track, I love it, is she didn't do a solo. She's such a great guitarist.
Yes, she left her solo out.
She really tears it up, man. She's an amazing guitarist.
She really is. I did get to witness that not too long ago. She's something else, and I can't wait to see her again. She's a great performer, and I think she's one that you'll probably hear more from. So remember that name, Meg Williams. Okay, yeah, absolutely. And if you're not familiar with Fame Studios and the Muscle Shoals sound, Google that, and there's a great film you can watch about it. And it's a great place to visit, and it's not too far from Nashville. We went there just last summer before the COVID hit, and just had a wonderful time. So much musical history there, isn't it? Something else.
Yeah. Wasn't that the? Didn't they do Mustang Sally there, or was that next door? So I think it was there. They did
Mustang Sally. Yeah.
Tons, like you said. Tons of hits.
With the original band that ended up becoming the Swampers.
Yes.
That Skinner used to sing about the Swampers, right? So, yeah. Yep. Something else. Well, let's find out a little bit more about you. You come from Maryland originally. How long have you been in Nashville?
Just over 20 years.
Just over 20 years?
That's correct.
Time flies, doesn't it?
It does. And what's funny is I did everything backwards.
You did?
I came here just to be in bands. I was a band guy.
Yeah.
And so, and what I would call myself a project writer. So we would write for our project, our album. And so I wasn't doing a ton of writing when I got here. If we wrote, that would be me and whatever band I was in, touring with and getting some radio play. We would write 10, 20, maybe 30 songs and then choose our favorite 10. And that became our project. And then we'd spend the rest of the year or maybe into the next year promoting it, doing radio shows like we're doing today, radio spots and just pushing the album. And that was the limit of my writing. And when I got here, I was looking for the same thing because I didn't know. And I came here knowing no one, by the way. I had no contacts. I didn't build anything, didn't know what to do.
So was it the success of the band that brought you here? You figured you could grow the band or popularity?
No, they had broken up, which was not my fault. I want to point that out. That was between other people. But we were on the verge of a deal with a major label, and it was a hard rock band. And not because of me in this case. And
well, Mark Allen Barnetti was our guest not too long ago, said the band always breaks up immediately after all of the photos are taken.
Yeah, and we had photos taken, and the basically a contract on the table with a major label, not to name anybody, and with the distribution ready to go nationally.
Wow.
And some of the other band members apparently had issues, and we broke up. And so I was like, okay, all right, maybe Nashville might do good. And so and I came here and went looking for bands because that's the only template I knew. And so but the funny thing is when I got here, I started asking around, where do I go to meet people, musicians or whatever? They said, go to the Broken Spoke. And I was like, oh, okay. So I walk in and I'm like, so where's the band? They're like, oh, it's not a band. It's a songwriter's night. And I was like, what's a songwriter's night? That's how naive I was, Dave, when I got here. Yeah. And they're like, and somebody pointed me, go back there and just sit. And so I sat and I was like, there's kind of half a stage.
Yeah.
Not a real stage, because I'm a band guy. And
back then it was the front porch, wasn't it? It's like the front porch. Yeah, it looked like a front porch stage.
Like
yeah.
Picking on the porch.
Yeah.
And so I waited and Debbie Champion walked in, who I didn't know. And so I saw somebody get behind a console and then some people lazily walk in, like just casually walk in, get their guitar. They disappeared, came out with their guitars and got on stage in a row with just guitars. And I was like, is that the band? And so no, they each, right? That's how naive it was.
Yeah.
Each took turns playing their songs acoustically, which really freaked me out. Made me nervous because I'm so used to being in a cushion of a group. Yeah. And so I wasn't going to get on stage right away. But here's the funny thing. And no one would know this out there in the world, but my first round I ever saw was with Tony Lane.
Oh, I love him. What a songwriter.
And I think David Lee was with him in one
David
other person.
Lee, too. Yeah. Oh, man.
And so he kicks in with this song called Tattoos and Scars, which years later became a #1 for Montgomery Gentry. Wow. And I sat there and went, maybe I should just go home. Because I was like, this is a whole nother level of writing, man. This is crazy. Yeah. But and so I did go to the bars downtown, and I was meeting musicians, but I fell into a songwriter community. And so I ended up over time becoming more of a writer on the writer's side, though I was in bunches of bands and I toured, and I was very fortunate to tour with at least one really good country act. And
can you say who?
Gretchen Wilson.
With Gretchen Wilson?
Yeah, Gretchen Wilson.
Wow.
And that was a very short stint because she and I knew each other prior to her going solo, and her husband Larry. I'd actually been to their house to record my demos.
Wow.
Before she went solo, so there she was, and there was Larry, and since then they divorced, but I just kind of knew them as other songwriters and artists in town.
Wow.
And then, of course, she got a band together and a manager, and when she first went solo, this is how this happened, I knew that I was friends with her new manager, her new agent, which is Eddie Rhines, and his big flagship. He had some big flagship country acts, and so George Jones being his biggest one. Wow. But he loved Gretchen's voice, and so I knew she was going to go on the road. And he called me one day and he said, "I know you got your own band thing," because I was trying to do the rock band thing still, even though I'm in Nashville. And he said, "We have a contract for a 5-piece band. Gretchen is the singer, and the keyboardist, rhythm guitarist dropped out." And the tour's in like 3 days. Oh. If I don't get a 5th member, all the contracts will drop, and we're going to lose thousands of dollars. The Gretchen won't make any money. Nobody's going to make any money. Can you fill in as the keyboard player and rhythm guitarist?
Can you help a brother out, right?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, how many songs do I need to do? And they're like, well, they're on covers, so you need to learn about 50 or 60. I'm like, in 3 days? And I knew half of them, by the way, because of standards.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
And so, and I was like, you know what? I love Eddie. I love Gretchen. She's a friend of mine. And I was like, I'll do it.
Great. What an experience. Yeah.
Yeah. That was her very first solo out from Nashville before she got her deal, before she met, John and Big Kenny and got in with them and the Music Mafia. Mm-hmm. This was her start, essentially, as a solo artist. And so it was really fun. She's one of the few singers that can go a whole night and never sing out of key.
Is that amazing?
I've never seen anything like it.
Mm-hmm.
Because usually you get tired, you start to, but nope, 4 hours, 50, 60 songs. And the bass player, I can't remember his name, but he had a great southern rock voice. So she would take a break and let him sing a few and have a rest her voice. Mm-hmm. But regardless of that, she covered 3 hours at least.
Wow.
Never sang out of key.
That's amazing. And that is talent. And that's why she was such a huge star.
Yes, she's not good.
What an amazing story. Well, you like to write with a lot of the artists as well as writers here in town. And there's a young man named Camden West. I'm sure you can tell us a little bit more about.
Yeah, he's from Vegas. His family's out there in Vegas. When he started coming here to network, he was actually doing well-paid Vegas like band overnight act.
Yeah.
So he's an amazing guitarist. He's an amazing singer, performer, and he was well honed when he got here. And I met him through. I think he probably came to an event at Global Songwriters.
Well, sweet,
and I'd met him, shook his hand, and then a few weeks later he approached me at another writer's night, a place called the Commodore Bar and Grill, and he said, "Hey, I really love what you do. Would you like to write sometime?" I said, "Yes." And so I started writing with him, and then I started networking him in with other writers.
That's great.
And which I love to do. And he's a different style. He's pop and pop rock. And you mentioned earlier, I love to write everything, and that's really what I love to do. I love the challenge of writing anything and everything. And so the challenge with him was, okay, let's put on the Americana pop rock hat and see what we can do. And we ended up one day in a room with Donna DeSopo. She's another writer in town here. And we had written a few songs. And then we came across this idea that he had because he had met a girl. and he just wanted to simply call it Falling. And so off we went from there, and we wrote this beautiful song, and he set the vibe. That's his guitar work.
Is it?
And so once he started playing that piece, we were like, we are so in on this song. Oh. And we ended up writing this gorgeous piece of music that I absolutely love called Falling. So.
It's really a beautiful song. And here it is on our show, the Songwriter Connection podcast. Falling by Camden West.
Starlight, dance in your eyes, roses, your lips, taste of strawberry wine. I got a feeling I want you and no one else. Can't stop this feeling. I'm about to lose myself, falling for you. Completely and over my head. I don't wanna fall asleep. I don't wanna fall asleep. And I'm falling into you. And I don't want this night to end. I don't wanna fall asleep. I wanna fall for you over and over again. Lay back, relax, lay your head on my chest, wrapped in silence, breathe you in with each breath. Let's stay together, but we don't ever have to leave. Stay here forever, wide awake in this dream. Falling for you. Completely and over my head. I don't wanna fall asleep. I don't wanna fall asleep. And I'm falling to you. And I don't want this night to end. I don't wanna fall asleep. I wanna fall for you over and over again. Stay together. We don't ever have to leave. Stay here forever. Wide awake in this dream. And I'm falling for you. Completely and over my head. I don't wanna fall asleep. Cause I'm falling in too deep. No, I'm falling to you, and I don't want this night to end. I don't wanna fall asleep. I wanna fall for you over and over again. Over and over again. Over and over again. Over again. Over and over again. I wanna fall for you over and over again.
You're listening to the Songwriter Connection podcast. I'm Dave. Our guest is Scott Barrier, and that is a beautiful song that Scott helped to write with new artist Camden West. Where was that recorded, Scott?
That was recorded with Nate Cornell. He's a producer from California originally, and his background is pop and CCM. Yeah, and he worked with he did a little programming for King and Country.
Oh yeah,
before I think he got here when he did that. But so Nate can bring that sort of pop rock and pop and Americana sort of thing, and he did a beautiful job recording it.
I can hear that song on a station here in town. We need to get that to the folks at Lightning 100, actually. Yeah. It's that AAA format that they're calling these days. That just is right there in the pocket. Great song. Yeah.
so much. And he released it as a single a month or two ago. And so you can find it on all the platforms, Camden West. It's out there. You just got to look for it. And I love that song. And I hope it really does well. And I hope for good things for Camden. Really do.
I do too. He's got a lot of talent. I also want to mention, we talked a little bit earlier about how Nashville is more than just country music. It's all kinds of music. And I never wanted this show to focus on any one genre. And I have a philosophy about that. People always ask, what kind of music do you play? And I hate that question because I always say, well, hopefully good music, because I really think the songs in songwriting, if you've got a great song, it's going to span the genres. And that to me that's up to the artist who wants to cut it and the producers that want to put it together. So on this show, I'm going to have a lot of different variety. Like, we have a guest coming up, very shortly, who is big in the Americana and folk world. Her name is Jamie Harris, and her partner is Mary Goucher, who's an amazing writer.
Mary's really awesome. She's funny.
She really is. So Jamie is going to be on the show next week, by the way. So we'll plug that in right now. And I'm looking for it. I've become a really big fan of her, and we'll tell you more about her too. But also, I've got a show coming up in June with a producer writer out of Dallas who had a #1 song that he wrote and produced with Alicia Keys. So how about that? Yeah. So cool. I don't want it just to be about genre. I want it to be a lot of different things. Now, as a songwriter, and what I love about you is, again, you talk about how you can write all styles. You challenge yourself to write, all styles with a lot of different artists. And you had this rare trifecta, really, lately. You had a song who you wrote, and female artist did it, male artist did it. So 2 cuts there, and then they did a duet. So 3 cuts. Yeah. So tell us this story right here. That's a rare one. It's like a triple play.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, it's pretty amazing. I don't know if it's been done before, probably, but I was writing with one of my main co-writers, Josie Bisto, who's a lyricist.
Joey's wonderful.
I had brought Megan Allen to her to write because Josie, I played some stuff I was writing with Megan Allen, who's a quirky, sort of like jazz pop artist with a really quirky voice. And so she just has such a unique thing. It's infectious. And so we had started to write, and then we kind of got into a regular routine. And Josie mentioned bringing in AJ Rags, who's kind of got a pop rock, poppy Americana thing going on. And she said, well, can we bring him in to write one night? And I was like, yeah. I said, but there's something I want to do if we're going to do this, because they're equally as talented. So I don't want one to be above the other. And a lot of times, for those who don't know, when we get into a writer room, if there's 2 artists, usually I'll say, so who are we writing for today? Yeah. Are we going to write for you over here, does your style, and we'll aim that way? Or do we want to write for you over here, and we'll just go that direction? And it's up to the artist to decide, yeah, I'm cool with that. And that happens, usually that's how it goes. They're like, great, we'll write for this person today, because people don't realize most artists are writers as well, and they love writing outside of their styles, in their styles, and it's just a creative process. They're creators. We are creators. That's why we usually go as well. We flow whatever direction. Let the song take us. Let the song speak. And so, but I said, I want to do something unique, and I have no idea if we can pull this off, Josie, but I want to write a song that they can both record and sing individually and have singles from a female side and from the male side, and to be able to do a duet. and I think it was left upon me, because I'm the crazy one that pulled everybody into it. And Josie's like, okay, let's see what they say. So when we got into the room, I told them my crazy proposal, and they're like, let's try it. All we can do is either succeed or fail. And so so we found a key that worked for both of them, and I had a little chord progression, because I thought I really need to come prepared for this. So I had a chord progression that they could have said no to, but they're like, we really like that. And Josie had this idea called My Kind of People, and she's like, this is what I want to write. I really want to write that, and let's find a way to make that work with your music, Scott. And so we hacked it out. We worked it out. It took a few sessions to do, because it was kind of a monumental task. But everybody was in. I couldn't believe it.
That's awesome.
And so the result was We were happy when we finished it. We got some critiques. We bumped it up, rewrote it, because that's what you do if you're in commercial writing. Jane Bach, who's a big writer, says...
Was on the show earlier. Yeah.
So she probably told you her saying is like, you write a good song. Mm-hmm. You should rewrite a great song.
You rewrite a great song.
Yeah, great songs are rewritten. And so we went in with that philosophy. And they wanted to do it. So we booked a session with John Willis, who has a studio south of here in Franklin, who's absolutely brilliant. And so we put the song together, got one version for AJ, a slight different version for Megan. So they each had their own vibe on the same song, same melody, same key, amazingly. And then we ended up using Megan's vibe for the duet. And so within the past 4 weeks, they've released a male version, a female version, and then last Friday,
duet.
They released the duet. It's just crazy.
And it's
three
out there.
Singles,
Yeah.
3 singles, 1 month.
That's
same
crazy.
song.
The trifecta. Love it. Let's play it for you. My Kind of People on the Songwriter Connection podcast. Megan Allen and AJ Rags.
Every time I turn on my TV, losing my faith in humanity. It's full of angry, bad news faces, but there's a new story breaking.
Don't have to leave my neighborhood. I'm uncovering everyday acts of good you won't see in any headline.
The more I look, the more I find kind people, my kind of people. If your vibe is your tribe, then I wanna be surrounded by a bunch of beautiful kind people, my kind of people. Just look for a smile and you'll find my kind of people. Oh, oh, my kind of people. Welcoming wave or a simple smile,
A friend dropping by to talk for a while.
when you're down they'll lift you up.
Slow to judge,
Quick to love, helping hand that holds the door. Random people paying it forward to the next one waiting in line. The more you look, the more you'll find kind people, my kind of people. If your vibe is your tribe, then I wanna be surrounded by a bunch of beautiful kind people, my kind of people. Just look for a smile and you'll find my kind of people. Oh, oh, my kind of people.
imagine how different the world would be
If we all could be kind
people.
my kind of
My
people.
kind
If
of
your vibe is your tribe, then I wanna be surrounded by a bunch of beautiful kind people, my kind of people. Just look for a smile and you'll find my kind of people. Oh, if your vibe is your tribe, then I wanna be surrounded by all kinds of kind people.
Wow, it's got a great message. It really does. Scott Barrier, our guest on the Songwriter Connection podcast, is AJ Rags and Megan Allen together. And so AJ's got his own little version of it, right? In a little different groove.
He does. Yeah, it actually is more of a Jason Mraz type kind of group.
I could hear that. Yeah.
Yeah, and what he wanted to do was have a big, huge sing-along in his. So his ass, like
cool.
John had us all like sing along in the studio with multiple passes. So it sounds like there's like 30 or 40 people, nice. But it's just us singing different places and doing different things and acting like we're talking and yelling and screaming in the background.
And people can find that out there, right?
Yes.
Wherever you get music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
AJ
he has his single out everywhere, all platforms. Good. Megan Allen, which is spelled me again, so it's Meagan. There's no H or anything. Megan Allen. So that's how we remember it, me again. So
okay,
which is Josie Bisto's nickname, which is very funny.
Yeah.
But it's on platforms. You can find it everywhere. And now that they've released the third, it's out there as well. So
that's great. So we hope that you check it out. You know, it really helps songwriters and these young artists. And it is, you know, I don't want to make it sound like songwriting is this. Sometimes it can be, but it's tough today. And it's not just the COVID that has made it rough for songwriters in the past year. It's a lot of different things. It's harder and harder to get a cut these days, with record companies cutting back and things, and artists writing their own. They want them writing the songs, right? Because they sign these things, these 360 deals where they get a part of the publishing and the merchandise and everything. So, I mean, it benefits the record labels to have their artists out there writing. So, but anyway, it's tough. And so as we struggle, there's always a little hope here and there, independent cut. But one of the buzzwords that you're hearing a lot in the songwriting community these days, and Scott, you can speak to this, is sync. Tell us a little bit about what sync means, and you've had some success there.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate. And it like anything that you build, it takes time. Way back when, I mentioned Donna DeSopo, she had an opportunity to start writing for Sync and asked me if I wanted to try. So I said, sure, why not? Being a commercial writer is not just one lane, as we're discussing today, where a commercial writer, you build skills to write in many genres so that you have a livelihood, because, as you said, the money's not quite there. CD sales are gone. Even downloads are just not a thing. Streaming doesn't bring a lot of money usually. And so you have to be sort of creative and can spin on a dime and do all this stuff and light on your feet. So to be a commercial writer in this day and age, you really need to build skills to be able to move a lot of directions. And so when Donna asked me that, I thought, I have no idea what I'm doing, but let's try. Okay. And so we got into it.
But let's explain what exactly we mean when we say the word sync, what that means.
Yeah, and that's where I'm headed. So because I had to learn myself what that was. That is synchronous music. That's where you synchronize the music with the audio in a TV show, a movie, anything that's visual, with the bumper music that's in and out on a sporting event, or when they're doing a highlight reel, when they're throwing, you hear this and they're throwing the football. They synchronize the tempo and the beat of the music with the motion of the audio, with where that's heading, to set up sort of a pace with the pace of it. And so,
and there's money in that these days.
There is money in that, and I didn't know that when I was asked to try it. And it turns out it's a little bit different than the indie cut world or the major label world, where they need music for everything out there. So if you are a writer who thinks you don't have a lane, you probably do. If you are just writing Americana and nobody's paying attention to you, search out sync agents, music libraries, and music supervisors. And so they probably need your music, because you're not going to fit in country if you're in Nashville necessarily, if you're not writing, but you still have a life. And it pays you up front. That's the difference, where cuts can pay you down the road royalties as it gets radio play or streaming play, and you wait for that. Whereas if you get a song that's placed in a movie ahead of time, you sign what's called a licensing contract, which is really they're renting the use of your song for that placement in that one movie. And so they pay you the rental fee up front, or the licensing fee, and it could be anywhere from $100,000 to $100,000, depending upon what it's going to be used for and for how long. And so you could literally make your whole career on one song. In like an advertisement for, say, Toyota or whatever, for a year, they could pay you $100,000. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
And so my whole philosophy on the sync stuff is, while I'm doing other things, that's what I want to do.
Now
money as I go.
You had some success with a Christmas movie, right?
2 3 Yeah, 2 Christmas movies and a TV show. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fox, the Moody's Fox. Yeah.
Okay. And with an artist that was recently on The Voice, right? Can we talk about that or no? Are we allowed?
Well, yeah, I'd mentioned it to you before we came on the air here that Keegan Farrell has been on The Voice. Unfortunately, he just got dropped. But I'm still happy for him because it's such a great opportunity for him to be known nationally because he deserves it. Mm-hmm. And Keegan is he's sort of a jazz pop artist, and with his nice soft voice and really good. He can almost be a crooner. Wow. And so once again, Donna DeSopo and we found him at a writer's night here in Nashville. He just came to town. He didn't know anybody. He got up and, after a writer's night is finished, for those out there who don't know, they have open mic. And you sign up and you wait all night just to play your one song usually. Yeah. And so Donna and I were still in the room, and he got up to do his one song. And I was like, whoa. Listen to that voice.
Wow.
And he was doing his jazzy pop thing. It wasn't country at all. Once again, there's room for everybody. And it's all here in Nashville now. It's not just country, as you said, Dave. Mm-hmm. And so we started to write with him and ended up writing a song called Merry Christmas with You, which is in his style. It's like crooner-ish. It's awesome. He plays beautiful piano on it. And it ended up being in the TV show The Moody's on Fox a couple years ago. And so that was really fun to be able to sit and watch his face, just because we had a little listening party and waited, and to see his face when that thing came on, and we're all excited. And but yeah, that was a beautiful moment, and I'm very happy for him, and I'm hoping it gets more play, especially now that he's been on The Voice. So
yeah. Now, if they play it again, like each Christmas year, I mean, do you get a residual for that?
Yeah. Since that was 2 years ago, it re-aired a couple times in the States and overseas, and I think I made about $10 in royalty. I might as well just be honest; it wasn't a ton,
but still, it's out there, and you never know what's going to happen. You never know.
Talk about price.
I have made hundreds of dollars on my cuts, and maybe even 2 at this point. So, so maybe someday. Now, Billy Lee, who was on our very first episode, had the big hit, The One with Gary Allan. He and I have been getting together and writing a few times a month, and we took on a challenge of writing a song for Sync. And it's a song that it's just been so catchy. It's just running through my head. It sticks in my head like Baby Shark sometimes, I find myself around the house just singing this song. And you know where I'm getting at. It's a song called Time Machine, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember how that came together? I'm trying to.
It was probably Billy has such a great background in rock, because you probably talked about that. I mean, he wrote with Joey Ramone. Come on now.
Right, I know.
When he was still back in New York, he created all kinds of tracks for that era, that he loved. Right. 80s style songs and 70s style songs and what's considered retro now. Yeah. He was producing in real time in the time.
Yeah.
And in Nashville, and they sat. And so he's got these great tracks, and the people in the sync world are doing these, are getting music for like shows that do retros, where they show 70s scenes, 60s scenes, 80s, 90s, and all that. And they need music that feels like it's from that era. Yeah. And so Billy, I think that's one of Billy's tracks that he already had built that had a Beatles sound.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he played that, and we built off of that. It was already sitting there for years, I think. Yeah. I think.
And he is a tremendous producer. And you're going to hear he put this all together. You sang it, but it does have that Beatles psychedelia kind of feel. And here it is. It's called Time Machine. That's right. It's out there.
If we had a time machine, where would you want to go? Last year, last night, or sometime tomorrow? Where would you want to go? Oh, where do you want to go? Oh, you're turning back the
second hands. Before we all lost our innocence, flying past the pain of today, escaping to the far, far, far away. If we had a time machine, where would you want to go? Last year, last night, or sometime tomorrow? Where would you want to go? Or where do you want to go? Is real life better than your fantasies? Do you see yourself like you do in your dreams? Would you want to meet the future you need? Or stay right here in the used to be? If we had a time machine, where would you want to go? Last year, last night, or sometime tomorrow? Where would you want to go? Where do you want to go? Last year, last night, or sometime tomorrow. If we had a time machine, where would you want to go? Last year, last night, or sometime tomorrow? Where would you want to go? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go?
Wow, that's what I keep singing. Where would you want to go? Billy Lee, I think Lee Tune Studios is one of the best kept secrets here in Nashville. He's been working on a project for me. We've been working on it for a couple years now, just taking our time, track by track, and I'm really excited to get it out there. But just a really cool song. And here's the other thing I remember. I remember singing that, where would you want to go? And I'm thinking, I'm seeing in my mind an airplane, banking and leaving. And I'm thinking, wouldn't that be a great jingle for an airline? Where would you want to go? And so you immediately start typing in lyrics, and you got this whole airline vibe thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I put my sync hat on after we put the artist cut hat on, and I was like, how can we get this with an airline?
Yeah.
So I just started rattling stuff off, and just hopefully it's got the right lyrics for sync, and let's get that airline commercial.
Let's get there. If there's any airline people out there, hey, it's available.
If you're out there, please.
I just want to say, Scott, I love writing with you, and I really think that you are a genius. And I've learned a lot writing with you. And this is why I like to write with a lot of different people, because you pick up something. We've been doing a little Zoom writing because of COVID. And we do it on Google Docs. We can create a document, and all of us at the same time can write and edit on the doc. And what I love about it is we get an idea and we just start throwing out ideas. And what I love about you is nothing is wrong. You just start typing. You start typing and you get all whatever pops in your head, and you move it down to what we call the boneyard. And then when we get to we're starting to build this song, I start looking through that bottom page, the boneyard, as you call, and there's gems in there. Oh, we got to pull that one up there. Oh, and that one's good. And that one goes with this one. And we just kind of piece it together like a puzzle. And it's so cool. I love writing with you. And
you too. It's always fun. It's always a great time. We've been coming up with great stuff, really cool stuff.
It's certainly been fun. It really has. And I look forward to doing it again real soon. Scott, thanks for being on our show. We're out of time. But, man, I wish you all the success. I love the stuff you're doing, and I appreciate you being on the Songwriter Connection podcast.
Thank you so much, Dave. Good luck with your show, too.
Thank you. Next week, Jamie Harris, and you don't want to miss that one. It's going to be great.
Thank you for listening to the Songwriter Connection podcast. Find us on social media at Songwriter Connection. Also, listen to Dave Linehan's Nashville Connection radio show. It streams live every Friday morning on WOBL and WNOI. Look for us on Facebook and YouTube. See you next time on Songwriter Connection.